Good morning. I'm just shocked how many people are awake right now, so thank y'all for coming. I'm Andy Cochrane. I do a lot of stuff. I have a lot of job titles. It tends to be weird stuff guy. So I've done a lot of VR, AR. One of the things I did most recently was built all the post-production pipeline, hired the team, built the studio for the MSG Sphere in Burbank. Was there for 3 years. But the last year and a half or so has been a lot of generative AI for a lot of people, and I have personally been navigating the same emotional waters that I think we all are. This talk is very much focused on things that generative AI that you can use today as applied to XR projects, so VR and AR primarily, but immersive and interactive as a wider sort of definition of XR. I'm going to gloss over a bunch of stuff. I have like 40 slides to get through in 25 minutes, so I'm going to go really fast. My contact info will be at the end. I'll hang out if anyone wants to ask questions. I apologize if I talk way too fast and gloss over stuff, but there's a lot to talk about. So first and foremost, what is generative AI? And more importantly, what isn't it? Because there's a lot of hullabaloo right now as to what generative AI is, what it isn't, how it works, how it doesn't work. It's sentient, it's going to kill us all, it's stealing all of our jobs. This is the most important takeaway from this talk. Generative AI is a phenomenal bullshit generator. Phenomenal. And I'm going to dive into what that means, but that is this. Take this away, if nothing else. Gen AI is great at bullshit. Our lives are filled with a lot of bullshit, and Gen AI can do that stuff very well. So that is what you should use it for, is the things that you don't want to do, aren't good at, don't need to do. And so you can focus more on the things that you are good at, that you should be doing. It's not going to take your job, it's going to take your bullshit. So that's the big takeaway. Everyone kind of has been talking about Gen AI as this ChatGPT is sentient. It's trying to get the nuclear codes. It doesn't want to die. It's trying blah, 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 blah. No. Generative AI is very simple as it stands today. All generative AI, you can lump it all together as a simple thing. You put a pile of data of a certain kind in, a bunch of audio, a bunch of images, a bunch of text, whatever it is. You put a whole bunch of data in. You tag it so it knows kind of some context of what these things are. If it's an image, you tell it what's in the image. If it's text, you try to give it some metadata tagging. And then it's really good at taking all of that input data and collaging it and outputting what feels like new things out of it, unique thoughts. But really, it's just a collage machine. This is a great sort of image right here. The top is how ChatGPT works, and this is how it's normally described to us. And I actually think that the AI industry is doing itself a phenomenal disservice by trying to stay on that level, because any normal person looks at that top image and just goes, black box, it's going to steal my job. But it's actually a lot simpler. The bottom image is just a quick screen grab from a really great article. There's a URL tiny at the bottom. I can share it with you later if you need to. Just Google Stephen Wolfram of Wolfram Alpha and Mathematica, and you know, he's a very smart dude. Did a very concise, great step-by-step breakdown of how ChatGPT works, and the layman's what everyone should think of as ChatGPT specifically, but all of these tools as. It has quite literally analyzed billions and billions and billions of sentences and has generated in the neurons in the in that top, how that top thing works. Basically, it's just complete the next word. What is the most likely next word? It's like an autocomplete. It's just stringing sentences together based on all the training data and the prompts you gave it. This is a massive simplification, but it's actually still accurate. This is how ChatGPT works. This is how Midjourney works. Midjourney is basically just putting pixels together based on its input data set, the most common way those pixels were put together based on what you asked it for. You say a man, it's going to give you a man that looks like the most man images that were tagged, that were put into it. And people are like, oh, it's got bias. It's a white dude. It's always a white dude. Yes, but if you said person of color, it's not going to be a white dude because the data set is not is not, the data set is going with the most common. So it was fed with a bunch of pictures of white dudes. So it gives you what you ask for. It's not sentient. It's not going to kill us. It's not going to steal your job. None of it is. None of it. Your car, even if you have a Tesla, if you have like a 10-year-old car, is as likely to learn how to drive itself as ChatGPT is likely to become sentient. That is how far apart these technologies are from, eventually we'll have AGI. So, these two images, so I generated these two images, right? As kind of a joke, right? Here's AI stealing your job and stealing your art and everything. But this is to make a point. This is bullshit. These are bad images. This is clip art. I was never going to hire a designer for $800 to make these two images, to make a little joke in a PowerPoint presentation for you today. This is what Gen AI is great at. Things that don't matter. Things that are just quick, throwaway, just simple, right? Like, it got the point across, right? It's as good as it needs to get. Is it great? No. Is it art? Absolutely not. Did I have a conversation with DALL-E 3 and it went away and used all of its creativity and intelligence and sentience to come up with these images? No, these are the most likely outputs based on my prompts from all of the inputs. This is a collage of everything that was fed into it. So it's bullshit. All right, so what can we use it for? As I've said repeatedly, bullshit. But more specifically, there are kind of two sort of areas that Gen AI is really great for. Anything that you're not good at and you really are not going to hire somebody else to do, yet you still have to do. This could be, ChatGPT is phenomenal at writing cover letters and synopses and log lines and marketing copy. I'm going to cover a bunch of stuff that's really great for social media posts or all that stuff that is not our job as creatives and technicians, the things that we have to do in the modern world and we hate doing. And we're never going to hire somebody to do those things. And if we did hire somebody and we had the budget to do it, they would do it better. So it's great for that. And then elements of an overall experience, especially VR, AR, especially things that are built in 3D. A cigarette butt in the back corner of a room where the focus is on a metahuman, photoreal character. Do you really need to spend $800, $1,000 modeling that cigarette butt that's on the floor in the corner? Like, do you really? Does it matter? Does that element actually matter? The answer is no, it doesn't actually matter, and you're probably going to go to TurboSquid and spend $5 and get a really bad model that will be as bad as Gen AI will make. So let's dive into it. I've got a bunch of categories. I'm going to go super fast. I apologize. So audio, there's a bunch of different ways. There's different generative AIs. Some of them can be strung together, and I'll show you that in a second. But they're ready. These are all tools that are ready to go right now. So first category, music. While I would never hire a generative AI, pay a monthly service to do any music that I would want to be sort of, that I would hire a composer to do, I would use Gen AI for a joke, for background music. If you've got a very big world and you need, you've got 87 locations and you just need like background music on the radio or something like that, I would definitely use it for marketing, for social media posts, etc. This is kind of fun. This is a song. This is one prompt, one text prompt. Made this. It's ridiculous. You need to bring it down a little. Is it great? No. Is it way better than you thought it was going to be? Yeah. Is it catchy? A little bit. Is it original? No. It's derivative. Generative AI is derivative. It is not generative. It is derivative. It derives unique outputs from a bunch of inputs. It is incapable of making something new. This is a fun song. I can share it with anyone that wants it. But you can use these tools. Udio and Suno are they're just mind-blowing. They're not mind-blowing as in like musicians are over, the sky is falling, the music industry is going to collapse. They're great in that I have found a bunch of free music before to put into projects. This is better than that. Was the free music good? No, it was also bad. It was made by a human that was making 1,000 tracks a week, right? Like as fast as they possibly could. So did this take somebody's job? Yeah, it took a job. All of this stuff takes away jobs that are bullshit, jobs that are a human doing something that takes no creativity, no thought, and very little skill, right? If you're doing something that could just be outsourced for pennies on the dollar, AI is going to probably replace that. Is it going to replace the amazing, talented, creative, thinkers, both technicians and creatives? No, God, no. It doesn't even know what day it is. So then there's also VO and dialogue. This one's huge. You see this all over now, TikTok and Instagram and everything. Ben Hansford, one of my friends, made this one.
Seneca once said, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future."
You can bring it down. So this is text-to-speech. That's not a voice clone or anything like that. This is basically this is online. You can chat with this, and it'll basically generate a video and spit back dialogue that was created by a large language model. I believe he's using ChatGPT, but there's many LLMs. This is really good if you have some kind of XR experience in which you have background characters, non-player characters, even just people walking around, and you don't want them to have like 4 repeating, looping sort of things that they say. You want them, they don't have to be even interactive. This can be interactive. But this is when you would like to fill out the world that you're creating very quickly with thousands or millions of hours of background chatter. Is this your sort of like your hero scripted? No. This is going to spit out garbage. This is going to say weird things. It's going to meander. It probably won't make sense a lot of the time. But if it's just somebody walking by on a street and there's 100 people on the street in your experience, and you want that person to sort of say something unique every single time, these tools are available today. They're great. 11 Labs is phenomenal. Open Voice is the open source alternative and runs locally. So if you don't want to be making internet calls to an API, there are open source options. The big thing with this is getting a near infinite volume of voiceover. Is this going to replace talented voice writing and talented voice actors? Absolutely not. This is nonsense. This will just spit nonsense. And so it's not good for primary, foreground, main experience. It's phenomenal for background, same as the cigarette butt. Voice cloning is very similar to that. They're often used hand in hand. Voice cloning is basically feeding in a snippet of somebody's audio, and it basically builds a model of what that person sounds like and would sound like if they said unique things. And then you basically just can input text and have that person say whatever you want. This is a great example.
Servers like this take a ton of time to record. But with AI, you can now quickly clone your voice and have it say anything that you type. So if you don't want to, you don't need to be in any of your future videos at all.
Was that identical? Absolutely not. Was that good? It was okay. It was passable. If that was on a video, you probably wouldn't notice it. Should that have been, primary? You use this voice cloning as the main part of your experience. If you've got some main character speaking, no, because this is going to be pretty hard to direct. The intonation will take you a long time to get exactly the way you want it to get. Is this useful for having, if you have a character that you've scripted 10 hours of, interactive dialogue for them, but you would like to add to that 1,000 hours, 1,000,000 hours, an infinite number of hours of dialogue when it's not the scripted interactions? Yeah, voice clone the actor, have an LLM basically spitting out that dialogue that doesn't matter, that dialogue that it's okay if it's a hallucinating mess, spitting out audio. And again, marketing, phenomenal for it. TikTok at this point is 100% AI voices, I swear to God. Localization, this is a huge one. This is about accessibility. We're speaking English, we're in America. Not everyone is from here, not everyone is a native English speaker. But numerically, English is not necessarily the most spoken language in the world. we're creating, most of us in this room, primarily in English, and maybe we're working really hard to sort of dub what we're making into one other language. We'll do, I don't know, French, German, whatever. This is phenomenal now. The ability to dub something, and it does a really good job. You do have to, so what it does is basically analyzes the audio that you give it, transcribes it, and then does text-to-speech with your voice, so it's using voice cloning as well, into different languages. So it's doing transcription of audio, it's doing voice cloning, and it's doing recording new audio. It's text-to-speech. So I'll play the clip here, and you can kind of see how good it is. And again, it's bullshit. This is not good, what I'm about to play. This is...
Content is being dubbed into. पिछले हफ्ते हमने YouTube पर डिप्लॉय हो रही चीज़ों को देखा जिन्हें क्रिएटिव स्यूट पर काम कर रहे हैं. 쓰며 이것은 풍경을 완전히 바꾸고 콘텐츠가 생성되고 소비되는 방식도 변경할 것입니다.
Is it passable? Yes. Is it allowing you to take the thing that, whatever, if it's content or it's a full-blown experience, and expose it to new audiences? Yeah, it's good enough for that. It does a pretty good job. You do have to pay attention to the transcript before you get to the stage, that you do have to hire a human to make sure that the translation is correct, that what it's actually saying is accurate. But it does a pretty good job of matching the lip sync. It's not doing anything to the video, it's not manipulating the mouth, but it is doing a pretty good job of trying to sort of match the cadence and ending up with a translation that's totally passable. Again, bullshit. I'm going to gloss over video incredibly quickly because this doesn't apply to a lot of XR projects, simply because none of the generative video that's out there right now does 360 or 180. It does rectilinear, it does flat 2D. You can use this. I love a lot of the generative video right now for animating stills. Just like there's some ability to add life to a still frame that's really phenomenal. It's really good at sort of elements, like if your experience has, I don't know, like fluid sims or particles or explosions or something that, needs to look kind of magical and cool, but you really don't have time to spend, weeks in Houdini or whatever to generate it. You can generate some pretty darn good stuff. Again, elements, background, not primary. Nobody's text prompting a movie anytime soon. Will they be able to? Maybe. Do audiences actually want to sit down and spend days carefully prompting a movie? No, they want to watch a movie. Are they going to do the same for an XR experience? No, they want you to do that. So these are tools. This is not like the end of Hollywood. And I think people are sort of like, oh, it's not the end of Hollywood. It doesn't do hands, or like, oh, look at this, look at the artifacts. Those will go away. What's not going to go away is the fact that this has absolutely no idea. My favorite thing, Sora, this is the new one, Dream Machine from Luma. My favorite thing in Sora is none of this it knows what we do and what we look like when we're doing it. It doesn't know why we were doing it. It's not a director. It doesn't understand intent. And so if you watch the Sora videos, watch the people in the background. There's a really phenomenal thing of it knows kind of what people look like walking down the street, but it doesn't know why they're walking down the street. So everyone in the background is just kind of like... And it will never get to that point with the current architectures. It's not intelligent. It's not intuiting it's not directing that background action. So if it doesn't matter, use it. Images. I got to pick up the pace. So it's great for conceptualizing. Obviously, Midjourney is phenomenal. It's very easy to use. I prefer Stable Diffusion because I like running stuff locally so that I can be faster. But this is the important part. It is a well-read microdosing creative partner. What that means is Midjourney and Stable Diffusion have studied all of the masters, all of the artists out there, analyzed them down to the pixel level and figured out common patterns. This artist often does these kinds of things. This type, pointillism generally looks like this across all of these artists, but it's hallucinating the whole time. It's not thinking, it's not a discussion, it's not an intelligent partner that is, when you say like, I'm thinking more like this, it has no ability to intuit this, right? It's just generating unique outputs from its data set, and you're just tweaking prompts together. So it is a little bit like that, like really almost there, creative partner, if they would just lay off the microdosing, and it's actually macrodosing. So it's like, it's good. It's good for concepting, but it's not good for final art. It is good for stock. It's great for, those little, again, the cigarette butt, 3D model reference. It's great for generating things that are just in the background, whatever, use them or don't. You can generate 360 images, and this is where XR sort of comes, to the forefront in the generative image sort of arena. This is Blockade Labs. There's also Skybox AI, Stable Diffusion can do it, NVIDIA Canvas can do it, Polyhaven can do it. There's a lot of ways to generate either just a skybox, like you have an idea of a perfect sky that you want to do, and this can kind of help you, if you were going to just search online until you found that skybox, or try to, maybe you can't shoot it because it just doesn't exist, or, basically generative AI can get you those things that are in your head. But, it's there, right? Like, if it's here, people are going to start seeing all the problems. And those problems are almost impossible to get out. You might as well have started from scratch and just built it yourself. So it's good for the background stuff. It is really good for cleanup and visual effects. It's phenomenal. Down at the bottom here, this is ControlNet. This is a sampling of the kind of things. In Stable Diffusion, there's what are called preprocessors, where you give it an image, for instance, and it can analyze that image and generate these intermediary additional pieces of information. So you've given it a text prompt, maybe you've given it an image, so you've got text and image. ControlNet and its preprocessors can, from that image, derive depth or normals or skeleton or segment it. So you have an additional layer of control going in. So your prompt is no longer just text or just text and image. It's text, image, depth, normal, whatever, a sketch, whatever you want. All this is helping you do is sort of narrow in and refine. The cool thing is you can take these preprocessor outputs and use them. You can use the depth mat to actually take a 2D image that it generated and give it a 3D shape. You can displace it, turn that face into 3D, move the camera around. It's not going to animate it. It's not going to do anything like that, but it'll give you a fighting chance. Firefly on the top, great for really quick stuff. Just like make that thing go away, fix this little reflection, touch up. It's called in-painting and out-painting. In-painting is when you make a little mask or a circle and you say, I want to change what's inside this. Out-painting is when you do that same mask and you say, I want to change everything outside of this area. I want to keep the face and change everything else, or I want to keep everything and change the face. In-paint, out-paint. And upscaling. There isn't a person on the planet, I think, at this point that isn't using upscaling in content creation. Topaz is ubiquitous, it's everywhere, but there's AI upscaling built into everything. This GIF is pretty cool. This is a Google project that kind of shows a little bit of what's happening. The upscaling that's happening today is generative. It's not just taking the pixels and sharpening a little bit. It's actually regenerating the image from the image at a higher resolution. And so people have started kind of posting stuff of like, why is there a face all of a sudden? Because it's generative, and it's bullshit. So textures are related to images. You can generate images. This is a great thing right here. Dream Textures is a Blender plugin, and it uses Stable Diffusion. It runs local. You can run it. You can connect it to an account, run it on a cloud. But it basically allows you to prompt textures in your 3D scene. So it's using the 3D models in your scene and actually projecting that onto it. There's another one called Stable Projectors that's really great at fixing seams and stuff like that, which is in the next slide. This is Stable Projectors. It basically will generate a bunch of different options, and you can use a paintbrush to choose which option you want in which area. This is really phenomenal for texturing stuff. Is this going to replace a really talented texture artist? No. If you need to texture something and you don't have that skill, this is a pretty phenomenal way to do something pretty quickly. It's great for background stuff. It'll hold up. It's very flexible. I have a feeling that for some people, this will take as long as other tools. So it's not necessarily this huge, efficiency and time saver. Oh my God, I'm out of time. All right, I'm just gonna like, boom, 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 boom. 3D models, you can generate them. It's great, it's awesome. Again, cigarette butts in the corner, not main characters. Reality capture, the last session talked about nerfs and Gaussian splats, which are two different ways of taking a bunch of photos and making a photoreal scene. NeRFs and Gaussian splats work in Unreal Engine, so you can create worlds. There's going to be issues with them. VR and AR, this is a NeRF. It's pretty phenomenal. One of those is real, one of those is a NeRF. It's in an AR app, pretty phenomenal. All right, lighting, you can drive HDRs. I love this. All right, we'll just go through the slides. HDR, and there's relighting. There, yeah, and you can do mocap. That's Move AI. It's pretty phenomenal. And there's animation. And Cascadeur, great. You can code. Copilot, agents, they're great. These projects are awesome.
So Andy, if people have questions and they want to see your whole session,
done.
can they message you and you can send that presentation?
Yeah, hit me on LinkedIn and I can give everything.
Definitely. So Andy Cochrane, everybody, thank you so much.